Hello everyone, this is Dr. Krishan. So we have come with in PG Residency Made Easy series. We have come with another video on the topic of Stridor. So coming to the Stridor, what is Stridor? First we have to think this. So stridor is an abnormal high-pitched breath sound produced by turbulent airflow through a partially obstructed airway at the level of supraglottis, glottis, subglottis, or trachea. So how is it different from stutter? So what is stutter? Stutter is heavy snoring inspiratory sound occurring in the coma or deep sleep, sometimes due to obstructions of the larynx or upper airways. So cause of stutter is basically choanal stenosis, enlarged tonsil, and adenoids and redundant upper airways. So we can see that in nasal passageway, nasal cavity, in mouth. These are the we have already discussed that supraglottis can be due to some supraglottic this stridor can be due to some supraglottic pathology or glottic or subglottis or trachea, and this stutter is mainly due to the pathology in this region, nasopharynx or nasal and nasopharynx. So what are types of stridor? Basically, this is how it is useful. This is useful to differentiate the based on the stridor. We can think of the differential diagnosis. So inspiratory stridor. Inspiratory stridor means it suggests an airway obstruction at the at or above the level of vocal cord. So inspiratory stridor means that the stridor when the stridor is there when the patient is inspirating. Expiratory stridor suggests airway obstruction at the level of trachea or bronchioles. So, and biphasic stridor suggests supraglottic or glottic airway obstruction. So, types of stridor is inspiratory. We have discussed it can be supraglottic or epiglottic, or it can be due vocal cord or glottic. Expiratory, it can be due to some tracheal or bronchial pathology. So we all know that the bronchus is divided into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, and tertiary bronchi, then bronchioles, then alveoli. So this bronchial is due to pathology in any primary, secondary, or tertiary. So inspiratory and biphasic. Biphasic inspiratory can be supraglottic or vocal cords. Biphasic can be glottic or subglottic. So types of stridor. So we have discussed pharynx, any pathology in pharynx or supraglottis. It comes in inspiratory stridor, and expiratory. What we have discussed, this thoracic cause or tracheal cause or bronchial causes, and this what we include in biphasic. We include glottic, subglottic, or any pathology in the tracheal region. So, what is the mechanism of development of the stridor? So, stridor can occur at the following places. We have already discussed this in the previous 2-3 slides. It can be due to pathology in nose and mouth. It can be due to larynx. What are the sites in larynx where this can happen? Epiglottis, supraglottis, glottis, or subglottis. It can happen in trachea. So, in this laryngoscopic picture, we can show that this is epiglottis, this is vocal cord, this is trachea, and this is the cartilage. This is arytenoid, corniculate, cuneiform. These are. So, an infant or child's airway lumen is naturally narrower and smaller than the adults. Therefore, any minor reduction in this airway diameter, such as which can be inflammation, mucosal edema, foreign substance collapsing epiglottis, can result in further narrowing or obstructions of the airway. Due to this narrowing, it causes an exponential increase in airway resistance, which makes it significantly difficult for the child to breathe. So, what are the congenital causes? We'll discuss this. The very wonderful photographic representations. So, it can be laryngomalacia. Laryngomalacia is responsible for 70% of the stridor. Then vocal cord paralysis, then subglottic stenosis, then cyst, web, or any vascular anomaly, cleft larynx, or lymphoangioma, or subglottic hemangioma. So, what are the acquired causes? What are the acquired causes? These were the congenital causes. What are the acquired causes? We'll discuss. So, it can be trauma, inflammatory causes of foreign body, or allergy, or neoplasia. So, trauma, thermal or chemical or iatrogenic intubations. Inflammatory, it can be acute epiglottitis, acute laryngitis, or acute laryngeal tracheobronchitis, retropharyngeal abscess, or diphtheria. Foreign body, in the larynx, trachea, or bronchus, external compression from some esophageal foreign body. So foreign body is in esophagus, but the trachea or bronchus is compressed. allergy. It can be due to angioneurotic edema of the larynx and trachea. So cause can be neoplastic also. So it can be benign. Example, laryngeal papillomatosis, or malignant. Example, laryngeal or bronchial carcinoma. So coming to the classification of stridor in the children or infant, stridor, it can be congenital. Stridor, it can be congenital. So uh, or it can be acquired. So congenital is as follows: laryngomalacia, laryngeal wave, subglottic stenosis, hemangioma, vocal cord paralysis, tongue and jaw abnormalities. Acquired can be afebrile or febrile, means febrile are generally associated with the infection, in which the patient will manifest as a fever. So it can be epiglottitis, acute laryngitis, laryngotracheitis, diphtheria, retropharyngeal abscess, infectious mononucleosis, peritonsillar abscess. Afebrile can be papillomatosis, injury, foreign body, laryngeal edema, adenotonsillar hypertrophy. So common causes. What are the common causes? So we'll discuss the common causes. So it can be acute epiglottitis, acute laryngobronchitis, retropharyngeal abscess, foreign body aspiration. So let's discuss the acute epiglottitis. What is acute epiglottitis? It is an acute inflammation in the supraglottic region of the oropharynx with inflammation of epiglottis, vallicula, arytenoid, or aryepiglottic fold. It is rapidly progressive. Therefore, it's a disease of the concern. Common in children, commonly 2 to 7 years of age. It is emergency case as the time interval from start of symptom to total respiratory obstruction may be extremely short. So, what are the causes? It can be Haemophilus influenzae type B, Streptococcus pneumonia, Group A streptococci, burn or trauma. So, what are the symptoms patient will manifest? So, she can have stridor, dyspnea, fever, odynophagia, dysphagia. Odynophagia means pain during swelling, dysphagia and difficulty in swelling. Severe sore throat, drooling, tripod position, muffled voice. So, what are the signs? So, epiglottis is swollen red mass, as we can see in this photo. This surrounding areas in the larynx and pharynx are also congested and swollen as it is infected. So, investigations. Investigation, what we'll do? Blood culture. As well as X-ray lateral view will show large swollen epiglottis, which is called thumb sign popularly. You can see in this X-ray. So, what is the treatment? We give IV antibiotic. Generally, we admit the patient as it is the disease of the concern. So, you obey medical legal obligations. So, IV antibiotic, steroid, hydrogens with parenteral fluid, intubation. Because due to the pain, patient is not, due to adenophobia, patient is not taking fluids. So, she can suffer by hypoelectronemia or dehydration. So, coming to the next disease, acute laryngotracheobronchitis. So, this is the healthy trachea. In croup, there is a swollen tissue is present, and that has led to narrowing of the airway. It is commonly called as croup, acute laryngotracheobronchitis. So, acute laryngotracheobronchitis or croup is an acute infection involving the larynx, trachea, and bronchus, commonly seen in children up to the age of 7 years old. Parainfluenza viruses type 1, 2, 3 are responsible for about 80% of the croup cases, spread through either direct inhalation from a cough and or sneeze or by contamination of hands, most likely to occur during the winter and early spring. So, what is the pathophysiology? So, there is inhalation of the virus through nose or the nasopharynx. Then, respiratory epithelium becomes inflamed and edematous, leading to airway narrowing, leading to airflow through the airway becomes turbulent stridor. So, this is epiglottis, this is vocal cord, trachea, this is inflamed. So, pathophysiology, we can say that this is normal larynx, this is voice box, vocal cord, and trachea. In this, what happened? Inflammation of the vocal cord such that there is narrowing of the trachea. So, we can see this photograph. So, what are the clinical features in croup? Non-specific respiratory symptoms. So, there is non-specific respiratory symptoms, rhinorrhea, sore throat, and cough. Fever is high-grade fever. Fever is high-grade fever, generally low-grade, but may exist to 40 degrees. So there is hoarseness of voice. This is barking, cough, stridor, or chest retractions. So this is scoring system Wesley group score. So symptoms we have graded is then there is, for example, the score is obtained by adding each symptom and totaling of the symptom score. So level of consciousness. So we have given score 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0 is normal including sleep, 1 not applicable, 2 not applicable, 5 is disoriented. So we give 5 score to the disoriented. So cyanosis, 0 is none, then 4 is with agitation, so 5 is cyanosis is with rest. Okay, cyanosis is with rest, cyanosis is not there in any activity, then 0. Stridor, when stridor is with agitation, 1, then at rest 2, 3, 4, 5 not applicable. So air entry 0 is normal, 1 is decrease is 1, markedly decrease is 2, then 3, 4, 5 not applicable. Retractions. So 1 is mild, 2 is moderate, 3 is severe. So Wesley score, group scores have been developed to assist the clinicians in assessing the patient's degree of respiratory compromise. The final score sum has a range of 0 to 17. Mild disease. So some score of less than 2, occasionally barking, cough, hoarseness, no stridor at rest, and mild or absent supraesternal or subcostal retractions. So specific respiratory symptoms: rhinorrhea, sore throat, cough. Fever generally low grade but may extend to 40 degree. Hoarseness of voice, barking, cough, stridor, chest retractions. So Wesley scoring moderate disease. Some score of 3 to 5 indicate moderate disease. Frequent cough, audible stridor at rest, and retractions, visible retractions, but little distress or agitations. So severe score, some score of 6 to 11. Prominent inspiratory and occasionally expiratory stridor, frequent cough, marked chest wall retractions, decreased air entry on auscultation, significant distress and agitation. Impending respiratory failure, some score of more than 12. We have seen that you can see that total score is 0 to 7. Okay. So you all can see that in impending standard, the maximum score is 17, or minimum is 0. So some score of more than or equal to 12. At this point, a barking cough and stridor may no longer be prominent. Lethargy, cyanosis, and decreasing retractions are harbingers of impending respiratory failure. So what are the investigations we do in laryngotracheobronchitis? Investigations: full blood count, we will see lymphocytosis. So ABG, we see hypoxia and hypercapnia in respiratory failure. X-ray stipple sign significant the subglottic narrowing. There is a subglottic narrowing in the trachea. Laryngoscopy. So this is stipple sign. You all can appreciate. You all can appreciate this stipple sign. Okay. So management. In mild cases, a child may just require parenteral guidance. Keep the child's head elevated, antipyretic, bucolytic, corticosteroid, nebulized epinephrine. So what is the difference? Now we'll see the differences, and this is the asked in postgraduate exams. So epiglottitis and croup we'll see. Appearance: epiglottis is a patient will appear toxic and unwell. It is an acute emergency. We have already discussed this. So croup is well looking. Onset: it is abrupt onset. Croup is viral prodrome, flu onset. Fever: high fever. Epiglottitis, in the epiglottitis we have high fever more than 38.5 degrees. Moderate fever but can reach to high sometimes. Stridor, usually moderate to severe, and croup is usually mild moderate. Cough, minimal or absent. Bark, in croup, it is barking or seal-like quality. Speech, in epiglottis, we have already discussed there is a sullen patient will have adenophagia, dysphagia. So in this patient will have an inability to speak. Croup, patient will have a hoarse voice. Secretions, unable to swallow, drooling of the saliva. In this group, patient is able to swallow. So now we'll discuss the retropharyngeal abscess. So retropharyngeal, this is retropharyngeal space, this is retropharyngeal abscesses. So in this have complicated anatomy. So we'll discuss anatomy first. So retropharyngeal space. What is retropharyngeal space? So bounded anteriorly by visceral layer of pretracheal fascia. So you can imagine it bounded anteriorly by the vertebral layer of the pretracheal fascia, posteriorly by the alar fascia of the deep cervical fascia, situated posterior to the pharynx, and the esophagus, extending from the base of the skull to T4 vertebra. So what we have seen anteriorly is visceral layer of pretracheal fascia. Pretracheal means trachea ke pehle. So visceral layer of that, and posteriorly by alar fascia of deep layer of the deep cervical fascia. Contain lymph nodes of Rouvier. So retropharyngeal space में जो lymph node होते हैं उसको बोलते हैं lymph node of Rouvier that disappears by 3 to 4 years of age. So coming to the anatomy, this has illustrated the retropharyngeal space, or it is also called a retrovisceral space. So you can see that this is prevertebral part, this is alar part, and this is prevertebral part. So we can see that this is buccopharyngeal fascia, this is danger space 4 of Gonski Halla, and this is superficial layer, mylohyoid, geniohyoid, submedical, prevertebral. So retropharyngeal abscess, it is a collection of pus at the retropharyngeal space secondary to infection. There are 4 different ways in which it can occur. Suppurations of the retropharyngeal lymph nodes of Rouvier. So there is suppuration, infections of the retropharyngeal lymph nodes of Rouvier. We have already R for retropharyngeal, R for Rouvier. So retropharyngeal lymph node Rouvier, or इनका suppuration हो जाए, suppuration. After this, spread of infections from parapharyngeal abscess. Parapharyngeal infection has spread. Trauma causing perforation of the posterior pharyngeal wall leading to the infection. So we have seen so many cases of the penetrating neck injury in which posterior pharyngeal wall is traumatized, lacerated. So in that cases we have the chances of developing retropharyngeal abscess. So tuberculosis of cervical spine. So it can spread to the pre-vertebral space also. So this is the retropharyngeal abscess. So what are the clinical features? So patient will have breathing difficulty, dysphagia, drooling, high fever, stridor, intercostal retraction, severe sore throat, and difficulty turning the head. So diagnosis, coming to the diagnosis. So this, we can see that this is the retropharyngeal abscess. So widening of the prevertebral soft tissue at the level of the upper cervical vertebra. So prevertebral soft tissue जो है उनकी widening हो जाएगी, क्यों? collection हो गया, ठीक है. In this we can see that this is the airway and this is the abscess. Abscess will be slightly between the gray to white, no? Between the black to white, so it will be gray abscess. So what treatment we give? We give IV broad spectrum antibiotics and drainage by an incision in the posterior pharyngeal wall through oral cavity. Adults with tuberculosis abscess are treated with antitubercular draining to an external neck incision when required. Tubercular abscess we are doing external. The treatment. So incision for lateral external drainage of retropharyngeal abscess. So we give this J shape. So coming to the foreign body aspiration. So foreign body aspiration is a common cause of acute stridor. The peak incidence is between 1 and 2 years of age because children have the habits of putting small objects into the mouth. Plus they have the tendency to explore everything. So the site where the foreign body get lost depends on the size and nature of the foreign body. The foreign body can be anything, but the most common is food. A history of aspiration or choking can be obtained in 90% of the cases. So you can see that this is a fagooscopic image of foreign body. It's some metallic, looks like some metallic foreign body. So clinical feature, it depends on the site where the foreign body gets stuck. Foreign body in larynx, then it will manifest as cough, stridor, dyspnea, rarely aphonia. Foreign body in tracheobronchial, then it will manifest as sudden onset of choking, early stage, productive cough and fever later stage. Signs like unilateral wheezing, poor chest movement, reduced breath sound, organic foreign body, vegetables, foods may produce a severe mucosal reactions, while non-organic foreign body once, twice produce little or no mucosal reaction. So investigations, X-ray of the neck lateral view. For example, in this we can see that some metallic foreign body is there. It can be coin. We have to say APB also. Investigation, chest X-ray will initially show collapse beyond the obstructed bronchus and later consolidation. Look for unilateral hyperinflations, lower or segmental atelectasis or mediastinal shift. On chest radiograph, children have air trapping more often, while adults have atelectasis most often. A normal finding on the chest radiograph doesn't exclude the diagnosis. Foreign body can only be visualized on the X-ray if it is radio opaque. Example, vegetable foreign body is not radio opaque, metallic and all. Investigation, bronchoscopy or laryngoscopy, both rigid and flexible, can be both diagnostic and therapeutic. CT scan shows the object and may identify localizing air trapping. CT scanning supplemented with virtual bronchoscopic imaging may further provide such useful information prior to the attempt of bronchoscopy. Attempt to pass a flexible bronchoscope beyond the first point encounter is not advisable course of action. So this is investigation. This is laryngoscopy. We can see the for body. So treatment. So Hamlich maneuver was previously given. Hamlich we can do. Then laryngoscopy or bronchoscopy depends on the locations of the foreign body. Removal of the foreign body by an experienced surgeon assisted by an anesthetist. Flexible laryngoscopy or bronchoscopy can be done under LA, while rigid direct laryngoscopy or bronchoscopy is performed under GA using a small endotracheal tube. So the patient lies supine position with the neck flexed on an extended head. So neck is flexed, head is extended. This is called barking dog position. Open thoracotomy if the front body is impacted deeper. So Heimlich maneuver, you can say that make a fist of a hand and lean the person forward slightly and stand behind him or her. Make a fist, then put your arms around the person. Grasp your fist with your other hand near the top of the stomach, just below the center. Make a quick hard movement upward and downward. Or if your infant, place the infant stomach down across your forearm and give thumbs on the infant back to the heel of your hands. Place fist above the navel while grasping first with the other hand leaning over a chair or countertop. Drive your fist towards yourselves with an upward thrust. So this is Hamlich maneuver being given. So coming to the laryngoscopy or bronchoscopy. Coming to the laryngoscopy or bronchoscopy, this is rigid bronchoscopy for foreign body removal. This is right main bronchus. You can see that this is DL dactyl laryngoscope or tongue epiglottis. This is tongue epiglottis and vocal cord, etc. So the patient lies supine with the neck flexed on an extended head. We call it barking dog position. So how to approach? This is. So now we are discussing how to approach a case of stridor. So stridor is a physical sign and not a disease. Attempt should always be made to discover the cause. It is important to elicit. It is important to elicit time of onset. To elicit the cause is from congenital or acquired. Mode of onset, sudden onset. Sudden onset will be in foreign body edema. Gradual and progressive will be in laryngomalacia, subglottic hemangioma, juvenile papillomas. Duration short. Foreign body short. It can be due to foreign body edema infections. Long laryngomalacia, laryngeal stenosis, or subglottic hemangioma, anomalies of tongue and jaw. Stridor is a physical sign and not a disease. Attempts should always be made to discover the cause. It is important to elicit relation to feeding. Aspirations in laryngeal paralysis, esophageal atresia, laryngeal cleft, vascular ring, foreign body esophagus. Cyanotic spells indicate need for airway maintenance, aspiration or ingestion of foreign body, laryngeal trauma, blunt injuries to larynx, intubation, endoscopy. So we can see that physical examination is stridor always associated with respiratory distress. The patient may there may be recession in the supraesternal notch. We commonly see this sternum, intercostal space, or epigastrium during inspiratory efforts. You can see that respiratory distress. The signs of respiratory distress include tripod position. Patient will be like this, tripod position, nasal flaring, retractions. This is nasal flaring, retraction, tripod positions. This is nasal flaring, retraction, poor muscle tone will be there. In this, we are seeing subcostal retraction, sternal intercostal retraction also is there. Infantile respiratory distress, including और फिर देखिए स्ट्राइडर ऑलवेज एसोसिएटेड विद रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस, देयर मे बी रिसेशन इन सुप्रास्टाल नॉच, sternum, intercostal space, and epigastrum during inspiratory efforts. Note whether the stridor is inspiratory, expiratory, or biphasic. So you can go to the differentials. No, note associated characteristics of the stridor. Associated fever indicates infective condition, acute laryngitis, epiglottitis, croup, or diphtheria. Stridor of laryngomalacia, micrognathia, macroglossia, and innominate artery compressions disappears when baby is in prone position. So remember this. So if the patient is in supine, it will appear. When he or she is prone, it will disappear. So how to approach physical examination? Sequential auscultations with unaided ear and stethoscope over the nose, open mouth, neck, and chest helps to localize the probable site of origin of the stridor. Examination of nose, tongue, jaw, and pharynx and larynx can exclude local pathology in these areas. In adults, indirect laryngoscopy can be done easily with infants and children requiring flexible fiber optic laryngoscopy. Flexible fiber optic laryngoscopy can be done under topical anesthesia as an outdoor procedure, allows examination of nose, nasopharynx, and larynx, helps in diagnosis of laryngomalacia, vocal cord paralysis, laryngeal papillomas, laryngeal cyst, and congenital anomalies of larynx, example laryngeal webs or clefts. So investigations, history and clinical examination will dictate the type of test required. Soft tissue lateral and PA view of the neck and X-ray chest PA, posterior anterior and lateral view help in the diagnosis of the foreign body of the airway. X-ray chest in respiratory and expiratory phases or a fluoroscopy of the chest helps to diagnose radiolucent foreign bodies. CT scan with contrast is helpful in mediastinal mass and other congenital vascular anomalies, innominate artery, double aortic arch, or an anomalous left pulmonary forming a sling around the trachea. Angiography may be need for AV vascular anomalies before operations. Esophagogram with contrast may be needed for tracheobronchial fistula or aberrant vessels or esophageal atresia. So hope you are clear. We will come with the part 2 of the video. We'll discuss the remaining slide there. Till then, study well, read well, discuss well. Bye-bye.